Now here I have had request from student many times that the create view will look similar to what we have for our edit. So why not combine both of them in one view or one Razor page? So that can be done absolutely. Let me stop the application and I'll show you how that is possible. Usually the name for such page is Upsert because it is a combination of update and insert. So we can just copy the edit that we have, or let me just add a new view, because when we copy, we have to make sure many things needs to be updated, like model. So the page name, it will be Upsert, and this looks good. Let's add that inside our book list. It will be similar to edit page, but there will be modifications. Let's first copy everything that we have inside edit, not the model. So we'll copy this and we'll close that. We'll go to our Upsert page and we'll paste it right here. Let's save this. Let's go to the edit page model and we'll copy everything inside the model from application DB context, and we'll just leave 2 brackets at the end. Whoops. We'll start after the 2 brackets and there we go. Let's copy this. Let's close this, go to the Upsert, and let's remove this and paste it right here. Now what will happen within Upsert is it will be used for creating as well as updating. We'll do Control dot here, because of which inside the edit model, this will be Upsert model actually, and because of which the ID, it is possible there won't be any ID if this is used for create. So that's why we have to use a nullable integer so that ID can be null. Then inside the get, what we have to do is we'll say book is equal to new book. Once we have that, we'll check here if ID is equal to null. If ID is null, that means that this is for create. So we will return back to the page. If that is not null, we will continue here. Because of this, we need to change from task to iActionResult. If the ID is not null, that means we have to retrieve the book from the database. So book is equal to _db.book.first.default async. We'll have to do Control dot to include entity framework core. We'll do await here and we'll say u goes to u.id is equal to the ID. We will find the book, and after we find this, we'll check if, and we'll say book is equal to null. If that is true, then we'll return not found. If this is not the case, we will return back to the page. Now when we are retrieving from the database, you can use first.default async or you can use find async. Any of those methods would work. So this way we will handle it for both create. This will be for create and with this will be for update. So the same handler will be using for both the scenarios. That looks good for the get handler. Then inside the post handler, we will do the same. We will check first if the model state is valid or not. If it's not valid, we'll return back. Then if it is valid, what we will do is right here, we'll check if book.id is equal to 0. If this is true, then _db.book.add and we'll add book. Else what we will do is _db.book. We also have update method. In here, we'll pass the book. So previously you saw other way of updating the book by retrieving it from the database, and here we're using directly the update method. So when should you use the previous one versus this one? This update should be used if you want to update every property of the book. But if you only want to update 2 properties, we will use the way that we used inside the edit page. Once we do this, we'll save the changes and we'll redirect back to the page. So perfect, this looks good for our Upsert get as well as post handlers. In the next video, let's fix the update view or the razor page and we should be good.